There are some people who can walk into a room and instantly feel that something is wrong. In that moment, no one says anything, no one is arguing, and everything looks completely normal, but their body still tenses up anyway. They immediately notice a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a silence that feels slightly different, a quick glance, or a voice that suddenly sounds just a bit colder than before. And the strange part is, they're usually right. While people often call this intuition, the truth is, sometimes it's not intuition at all. It's trauma. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, which is a survival mechanism that causes the brain to constantly scan the environment for danger. For many traumatized people, the ability to read minds is actually just an extreme version of that exact survival response. They're not really reading people's thoughts. They're reading emotions, reading shifts, and reading danger simply because at some point in their life, that ability helped them survive. Take Cole, for example. The moment he walks into a place, he can sense people's energy almost instantly. He immediately knows who's upset, who's pretending to be okay, who was just fighting, and who doesn't like him. Other people around him may not notice anything at all, but Cole does, because he is always observing, always reading the room, and always trying to understand what's happening beneath people's words. And the sad part is, he didn't learn this because he wanted to. He learned it because, at some point, reading other people's emotions helped him avoid pain. Growing up in an emotionally unstable environment, Cole learned to monitor everything just to stay safe. He constantly had to observe. Does his father sound different today? Is his mother sad or about to explode? Should he stay quiet right now, or should he leave the room entirely? Over time, his brain started treating this emotional scanning as necessary for survival, and eventually, it became completely automatic. As this habit takes root, it alters the way you interact with the world, making you constantly feel like you did something wrong. A slow text reply can instantly make you anxious, and a short response can keep you overthinking all night. You start asking yourself if you said something wrong, if they are upset with you, or if you somehow disappointed them. And before the other person even says a single word, you've already created dozens of painful scenarios in your head. People call this overthinking, but really it's a nervous system that became used to living in survival mode. When you grow up in an environment where other people's emotions determine whether the day will feel peaceful or terrifying, your brain learns to predict things before they happen. You do this not to control people, but purely to protect yourself. This constant need for protection forces you to analyze people almost obsessively. You notice tiny changes in people's tone of voice, you catch microfacial expressions most people miss, and you constantly replay conversations in your head, trying to decode the hidden meaning behind every sentence. Sometimes, you even understand other people's emotions better than they understand themselves. Just like Cole, you became a student of human behavior, not because you wanted to, but because understanding people once felt absolutely necessary for your safety. You had to learn how to predict when someone was about to get angry, when they were becoming distant, or when they might hurt you. And over time, your brain learned to stay several steps ahead emotionally. In time, this survival mindset bleeds into your personality, causing you to apologize even when you're not wrong. Because you deeply hate conflict, you constantly try to keep the peace, making other people comfortable even when you are emotionally exhausted yourself. Sometimes, you even feel personally responsible for other people's emotions. This often happens to those who had to emotionally manage adults when they were still just children. Back then, if the adults were happy, everything felt safe, but if they were angry, everything became frightening. So you quickly learn to calm people down, avoid causing problems, and become as easy and agreeable as possible. You did this not because you were weak, but because your safety once depended on it. Strangely enough, this deep-seated conditioning is the exact reason why you become extremely calm during chaos. When everything falls apart and most people panic, you don't. Instead, something inside you suddenly becomes completely calm. You analyze the situation, you find solutions, and you adapt quickly. This happens because your nervous system became familiar with stress very early in life. For most people, high stress feels abnormal, but for you, it once felt like the only normal. That's why you can function incredibly well during chaos, yet feel strangely uncomfortable when life becomes peaceful. Nuts. And the frightening part is, many traumatized people don't even realize they've never truly relaxed a single day in their life. The tragic paradox of hypervigilance is that it keeps you safe from threats that no longer exist, while preventing you from ever trusting the people around you. Even when someone treats you well, part of you still expects them to change, so you always keep a piece of yourself emotionally guarded. You do this not because you're pessimistic, but because your brain learned early on that safety can disappear at any moment. Psychologists call this adaptive skepticism, which is a form of self-protection developed through experience. And sometimes it makes you feel deeply alone because you're always watching, always preparing, and always waiting for the possibility of being hurt again. But here's the most painful part of all. Many traumatized people don't even realize they're doing this. They genuinely think they're just too sensitive, that they just overthink too much, or that they simply struggle to relax. But the truth is, their nervous system never truly learned what safety feels like. You are not reading people's minds. You are reading shifts, you are reading danger signals, and you are reading the possibility of abandonment, rejection, and emotional pain. And when you do that for long enough, your brain eventually treats this hyper-awareness as its default setting. That's exactly why many traumatized people can't fully relax in love. When someone is too kind to them, they become deeply suspicious, and when everything feels peaceful, they start waiting for the storm. This happens because in their past, peace was often just the silence before pain. And maybe the saddest truth is this: you became emotionally intelligent, not because life treated you gently, but because your childhood required you to become that way just to survive. But you need to know that these reactions do not mean you are broken. They are actual proof that your brain did everything it could to protect you. The problem is, a survival mechanism that protected you in the past doesn't always help you feel safe in the present. At some point, you have to learn the difference between real danger and old fear returning. You have to learn that not every silence means anger, not every distance means abandonment, and not every shift in energy means you're about to get hurt. And maybe what you need most right now is not becoming better at reading other people. Maybe what you really need is finally learning how to feel safe inside yourself. Maybe your entire life has been spent learning how to read everyone else, simply because, growing up, no one ever tried to truly understand you. You were never meant to live this guarded. You just grew up in a place where safety never lasted long enough. And maybe the child inside you is finally tired.